When I was a kid, I would never play in my room. I wouldn't even sleep in my room. I would wake my parents up in the middle of the night and sleep in their bed. I would play with my dinosaurs or action figures on the stairs or in the living room, never in my room. I always thought that I was just an odd kid, but since I've been staying with my brother, I've been slowly remembering the horrors of my childhood. When I was a kid, my family lived in a large house out in the country. It was 3 stories tall and had 50 acres for me and my siblings to play on. Most of our property was a flat field with tall grass, but in the corner of our property was part of a large forest. I can remember clear as day playing cowboys and Indians with my brother and our friends. My sister used to come out and chase us, but when she turned 15, I only saw her at dinner, and that wasn't even a sure thing. I miss those days. My room was on the 3rd story of the house. There was a large window right next to my bed. I would often sit in the corner of my bed and look out the window. The view was beautiful. I could see the green grass flowing in the wind and the large forest looming over the field. Sometimes if I was lucky, I would see a deer or some turkeys in the field. When I turned 5, right after our chocolate lab Buddy died, is when I started to see the faces. I would be right about to drift off to sleep when I would see movement in the windows. The faces were always different. I would sometimes see a face of a man, other times I would see a woman's. The scariest one, however, was a thin, pale man with long black hair and thin, bright red lips. Think Michael Jackson but thinner. The expressions on their faces were always different as well. The Michael Jackson-like one would sometimes have a scowl, but other times he would have a smile. Not like a creepy smile, but like a genuine loving smile. The other faces would have looks of agony, looks of anger, looks of sadness, creepy and genuine smiles. They never had the same expressions twice. The only constant was they looked at me with unblinking eyes. I would cry to my parents every night to sleep with them when I told them about the faces. They thought I was just grieving about Buddy in an odd way. For the first few months, they would let me sleep with them if I went to their room late at night. Eventually, they locked the door. That's when I slept in the hallway. When I turned 11, my dad got sick of my antics and installed a lock on my door. I was locked in my room every night until I turned 14. The faces finally stopped appearing at around 12 years old. As I got older and older, I eventually forgot about the faces. Maybe it was my brain blocking traumatic memories or my plain old forgetfulness. I don't know. I do know, however, that the memories came flooding back when I went to stay with my brother. I started to have financial problems around a year ago. I got laid off and my girlfriend left me for my ex-best friend. I was forced to move in with my brother around 7 months ago. My parents left him their house. I didn't want the house because I wanted to live in the city, but it always felt like he was treated better just because he was younger. Whatever. Anyways, my brother happily let me stay with him for a while to get back on my feet. There were plenty of rooms in the house and the rent was low, so I begrudgingly accepted. For the first few weeks, I spent my time drinking beers with my brother while having fire and spending time with my nephews. I always liked them. I strove to be the cool uncle. I was helping my youngest nephew draw a picture when he nonchalantly mentioned the faces in his windows. I must have stared at him for a full minute before I excused myself to go to the bathroom. The memories came flooding back. I washed my face and told myself it's probably just something he saw on TV. It had to be, right? I walked out of the bathroom and saw my nephew happily drawing a picture of their recently deceased dachshund. I walked over to the table and, stumbling over my words, asked him if he saw the faces. In my window, silly. I asked him what they looked like. Well, there's the white guy and the other people. I closed the conversation there and talked with him about normal 5-year-old stuff. To be honest, I was internally freaking out. Once my brother got home, I told him that he never gave me a proper tour of the house, and I asked him if he could now. He got changed out of his clothes and gave me the full grand tour of the house I used to live in. Sure enough, my youngest nephew's room was my old room. I immediately pulled aside my brother and asked him if he had known anything about his son seeing faces. He broke a smile and said his kid has an extremely active imagination. He told me that my nephew has an imaginary friend that he sees every night. Has he told you what his friend looks like? A little weirded out, my brother responded, Yeah, he is really pale and has red lips. I gave my brother an okay and went downstairs into my room. I probably looked as white as a ghost. A little while later, I went back upstairs and looked into my old room. I walked inside and stood at the very window that made me tremble in fear all those years back. I looked out the window at the most beautiful sunset and sighed. I heard footsteps behind me and turned around. My nephew was standing by the doorway. He asked me a question that makes my blood run cold to this day. Were you talking with the white man?